Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video, we will be discussing the oil and natural gas industry of Trinidad and Tobago. Oil and natural gas are fossil fuels formed by tiny marine creatures which lived millions of years ago. These creatures died, fell to the ocean floor, and were buried under layers of sand. The increasing pressure and heat of the layers of sand, in addition to the absence of oxygen, caused a substance called kerogen to be formed. As the pressure and heat increased further, the kerogen was transformed to oil and gas. The oil and gas were squeezed up through spaces in the rocks. While some reached the surface, others were trapped under impermeable layers, as well as rock structures like faults and folds. These fossil fuels, when extracted, provide us with both raw material as well as energy. These are so valuable that they have been at the center of many political disputes across the globe. Those who are fortunate to have them and manage them well have been able to build up some very prosperous economies. Trinidad and Tobago is one example of a Caribbean territory which has been blessed enough to have these valuable resources integrated into its geology. This map shows that Trinidad and Tobago is located to the northeast of South America. Here, the Caribbean plate interacts with the South American plate. While the Caribbean plate moves eastwards, the South American plate moves to the west. This means that the area is a transform plate margin. However, due to its complexity, there is also some amount of thrust faulting as well as some subduction. The diagram at the bottom shows the general geology of Trinidad. There are mainly sedimentary rocks formed due to the deposition of sediments on the seafloor from the rivers flowing from South America. Though these sediments were originally laid down in horizontal layers, the diagram shows that they have since experienced a lot of folding and faulting due to tectonic forces. Tectonic movements are also responsible for causing metamorphism in the rocks of the northern range. In the tertiary rocks of the southern part of Trinidad, and to some extent in the underlying Cretaceous rocks as well, there are deposits of petroleum or oil, which forms the backbone of Trinidad's economy. This map shows some of the fault lines which run across the island of Trinidad. These fault lines are not only responsible for earthquake activities in the island, They also have an influence on the location of oil and natural gas deposits. Due to Earth movements, Trinidad has broken away from the South American continent, but the similarity between its geology and that of eastern Venezuela, located 7 miles away, is evidence that the two places were once joined, though now separated by the Gulf of Paria. Now let us examine some of the factors influencing the location of oil and natural gas industry in Trinidad and Tobago. These include raw material, labor, energy, transport, capital, market, and the influence of the government. Raw material. Despite its difficult geological structure, adequate commercial supplies of oil and natural gas are available in Trinidad and Tobago. Oil fields are shown on the map in yellow. Notice that they occur in discontinuous bands roughly east to west within southern Trinidad, both on land and offshore. Most of the offshore oil fields are in the Gulf of Paria as well as the Atlantic Ocean. The oil fields are all within close range of the island. Large commercial supplies were available, particularly in southern Trinidad in the past, but much have now been depleted. Now, the gas fields are shown on the map by the orange color. These gas fields are mostly offshore. The most extensive area of natural gas is southeast of Trinidad in the Atlantic Ocean. A few gas fields are also found to the north of Trinidad, and some even smaller deposits to the west coast. Now let's look at labor. A highly trained and skilled labor force is required for this industry. Labor is available locally as well as from elsewhere in the Caribbean region and abroad. Some of the professionals who work in the oil and natural gas industry include geologists, engineers, surveyors, geochemists, and so on. Some are trained locally at institutions such as UWI and the University of Trinidad and Tobago, while others are trained overseas. Some are also trained locally by companies. And onto transport. There is a network of roads which has been constructed by oil companies to facilitate easy movement of the products as well as staff to the refinery and ports. Additionally, a pipeline transport system allows for the movement of large quantities of oil and gas from their sources to terminals in an easier, faster, and less costly manner. Capital. This industry incurs a lot of expenses, from exploration costs, drilling, salary, and so on. Very little capital is available locally. Most of the capital is obtained from foreign investors who are willing to invest because of the existence of commercial supplies of the raw material, as well as the relative stability of the government. Availability of market. The largest market for oil is the USA. Oil from Trinidad and Tobago costs less to import into the USA than oil from the Middle East. This is because the shorter distance make transportation cheaper. Political problems in the Middle East have also resulted in Trinidad and Tobago's oil being favored. Natural gas is more difficult to be transported than oil, but gas products and LNG, or liquefied natural gas, are exported to the USA, Europe, within the Caribbean region, and other parts of the world. Role of the government. The island's political structure is generally stable, which is essential for this industry to flourish. Tax incentives offered by the government also attracts foreign investors. The government is also responsible for granting the approval for exploration to take place. Now, the oil and natural gas industry benefits Trinidad and Tobago in a number of ways. For example, it provides employment. Though it employs only about 4% of the labor force directly, many people are employed in industries which are related to and depend on the mining sector. That is the oil and gas mining sector. Oil and natural gas is one of the largest contributors to the country's GDP. The industry also increases the country's foreign exchange. Another benefit is cheap electricity. The sector provides a reliable source of electricity for both domestic and industrial purposes. The citizens of Trinidad and Tobago receive electricity at a much cheaper cost than their Caribbean neighbors. Oil and natural gas is also a source of raw material to the petrochemical industry. This industry creates products such as plastics, fertilizers, tires, textiles, and electronic devices. The manufacturing sector of Trinidad and Tobago is one of the most successful in the Caribbean. And this is mainly because of the availability of a cheaper source of energy. Since money from the industry is invested into the health and education sectors, this has increased the affluence of the people, and therefore they have generally been able to enjoy a higher standard of living than other Caribbean territories. Now, even though Trinidad benefits from the oil and gas industry, there are also some problems associated with the industry. For example, oil and natural gas are non-renewable resources, and gas in particular, oil in particular, has been depleted, and there are no limited oil reserves available. Fluctuation in the grade or quality of the oil makes refining more costly. The industry has also contributed to environmental degradation. For example, marine pollution have destroyed marine habitats and have killed many marine lives. Oil spills are also hazardous. There is an overdependence of Trinidad and Tobago on the oil and natural gas industry. The discovery and use of shale gas in the USA has reduced the demand for oil in Trinidad. OPEC sets the price for oil and natural gas. So there is little that Trinidad can do. It only has to respond to the market forces. Natural gas is mainly located offshore. This makes it very expensive to mine. Additionally, the oil and natural gas are located in scattered pools and in small sizes. Some deposits are located deep in the ground, so wells have to be drilled to greater than normal depths. Most of the oil has to be pumped to the surface, which is also costly. Now, let's look at some of the measures which have been put in place to combat some of these problems. To meet the demands for oil and natural gas in the country, Trinidad also imports oil and natural gas. The petrochemical industry is an alternative source of export and has been growing in importance. The major oil and gas companies in Trinidad and Tobago have adopted new technologies for land and offshore exploration and extraction. Port expansions facilitate offshore growth. Another solution is diversifying the economy to reduce the overdependence on the oil and natural gas industry. The careful management of mining operations helps to reduce environmental degradation as well as the frequency of environmental hazards. Okay, I hope you benefited from this video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.